Welcome to All Things Social Security. My name is Stephanie Joy of Joy Disability. I am a Social Security disability attorney, and I would like to invite you to watch our daily video tips on the Social Security disability and SSI claims process each day at the new time of noon Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube on this channel. And on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our live Q&A live stream. So you are welcome to join that as well. Ask your questions, get there on time, and you'll be one of the first answered. Thanks so much and have a great day. Enjoy the video. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Let's talk a little bit about a recently asked question about specifically it was whether alimony could be affected by Social Security disability. Now, it wasn't clear, was that alimony being received? Would it change, or any obligation to pay alimony if you're receiving Social Security disability? So let it be known, in terms of the latter, since I think it was around 1975, alimony obligation, and usually I would say this happens to generally be when it's in arrears, when you violated an order to pay, and so now you are not really standing up to your obligation there. Law has it that Social Security, along with other areas of the federal government, are obligated to withhold, it could be current, it could be continuing Social Security payments, to enforce any legal obligation that one has to pay child support, alimony, or even restitution. There are other federal debts that would also be included in that. But this was specifically about alimony. So if you were in arrears on alimony, and then you started getting Social Security, whether it's disability or retirement, you could certainly find that being legally garnished to a certain extent going forward. It's probably a good idea to try to get that squared away ahead of time if you can. And I know that's not always possible. That would be, I don't know if I gave you the section 459 of the Social Security Act, which is 42 USC 659. They also let us know separately that other areas such as the Taxpayer Relief Act of 1997, it authorizes the IRS to put a levy up to 15% of each Social Security payment for overdue federal tax debts until the tax debt is paid. So if you haven't bankrupted that or in some way, shape, or form gotten rid of that, that's something that could also come bite you in the butt years later when you start collecting Social Security. Then there is the Debt Collection Improvement Act of 1996, which allows the Treasury to withhold Social Security benefits to collect delinquent non-tax debts owed to other federal agencies. So that's where all those other federal debts could come in, including school loans. Now, for the flip side of that, if you are not the alimony ower, but you are supposed to be receiving alimony. Now, I'm not going to get into family law here because that's going to vary by state, and I don't practice that. I used to do that in New Jersey, not many, many years, and I'm sure it's vastly changed since then. But generally, not so much probably for arrears, but it is within the realm of reason that if you didn't have income before and now you have more income because of your Social Security receipts, in theory, unless it was a permanent unchangeable order, potentially it could be a change in circumstances if that applies in your state to the payor, because now the payee doesn't have as much need as he or she used to. Just saying, I would check your state law. The same thing can be true for child support. Again, not past, already owed, carved in stone, delinquent child support, but going forward. So, and I always remind people, like, if you are divorced or in some way, shape, or form having to pay child support to support your children, if you have a change in circumstances, such as becoming disabled, unable to work, and then even succeeding in your Social Security disability, because your children are now entitled generally to a child's benefit based on your work record that you paid for their support, it is worth looking into it, whether you have a divorce attorney or not, or a child support attorney, looking into whether or not that would be a change of circumstances, recognizing one, you have less income than before, and two, your children now have more income because you're already giving them support via your Social Security insurance benefits. So in theory, and I think in reality, your child support obligation can go down, the out of pocket. Sometimes it's eliminated altogether because you're paying them even more through the insurance that they are now getting, thanks to you, that they wouldn't have been getting. And sometimes it actually exceeds what your child support order was. So it might eliminate any extra you need to pay for their child support. at least until they are no longer allowed to get Social Security child benefits based on your work record, which would generally be until they are 18 or 19 if they're still in high school. So, alrighty, so that would be the garnishment that is able to be had for child support and alimony and those other things I mentioned if we get behind. So it is sometimes a good idea to somehow try to get those somehow rectified before anyone's going to try to catch a lien on you. And a state child support agency could do so. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly your ex per se doing it, as far as I understand. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I'll talk to you later. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful, if not just a little bit informative. In the event you have a Social Security question you want addressed, please feel free to make a comment below and ask the question, even if nothing to do with this particular video. And just a quick, again, reminder, we have our daily video shares and tips around noon every day of the week. And on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our live Q&A session where you can come in live and enter your questions in the chat. And we all pretty much have a good time for an hour or two. I look forward to seeing you there, hopefully. And lastly, don't forget about our benefactor memberships. They're very reasonably priced. The first one is very nominal, and you get a few perks, but on a bigger scale, it contributes to us being able to fulfill a mission of assisting certain people with representation that would otherwise not be able to get it. We look forward to continuing to do that, and so far it's working out like the bomb. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.